Needless to say, all people are born unique, with the exception of identical twins, of course. However, there are some people born with characteristics so unique you would think that they came straight out of a storybook. Especially number 1, whose characteristics and life story would sound like complete fiction if he weren't 100% verifiably real. Stay tuned to find out who he is as we give you 10 people you won't believe actually exist. Number 10. The dirtiest man on Earth. How long have you gone without taking a bath or even taking a shower? My personal best, or worst, is about 3 days, and I feel so dirty just thinking about it. The circumstances are pretty simple. I'm very lazy. Anyway, this first person on our list hasn't taken a bath in 60 years, and is considered the dirtiest man on Earth. A man named Amol Haji one day decided to isolate himself from the rest of the world, and that meant he would have to give up the joys of indoor plumbing. Now, more than 60 years later, he still hasn't taken a bath. This man is now in his 80s and has quite an unusual story indeed. Amol lived in Daiga, a city in Iran, before he decided to shun civilization together. According to him, he is happier this way, and says even though he doesn't have many possessions, he doesn't miss anything, and he also doesn't need to worry about being robbed. Another thing, Amol Haji, who promised he would never shower again, has been nicknamed the world's dirtiest man, and now holds the record since his predecessor was a man from India who had gone a total of 35 years without bathing. Number 9. Extreme Grandma. Most of us wouldn't even dream of reaching 100 years old, but in the chance that some of you do, how would you spend it? A simple celebration with your family perhaps? Or would you rather jump a plane? Yeah, not a joke, that's what Georgina Harwood did to celebrate her 100th birthday back in 2015. It also wasn't her first time skydiving as well. In fact, her birthday plunge was her third, having started with the hobby at the tender age of 92. Georgina Harwood was joined by 15 of her closest family members and friends to honor the start of her 100th year of life, with everyone participating in the skydiving. Georgina jumped tandem, with an instructor behind her in the harness, while the others jumped in groups of 3. Of course, jumping off planes wasn't enough for this extreme grandma. After just a couple of days, she went out and did some shark diving as well. She gives that grandma from Hoodwink to run for her money. Number 8. The real Stretch Armstrong. He may not be able to stretch any of his extremities, but Gary Turner didn't earn his nickname of the Elastic Man for nothing. You see, Gary has extremely stretchy skin. So stretchy in fact that he set the Guinness World Record for the stretchiest skin in the world back in 1999. And he still holds the record to this very day. Gary Turner knew about his stretchy skin from an early age. At the age of 13, doctors figured out that his stretchy skin was due to a very rare and extreme case of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. This is a genetic disorder of connecting tissues that affects ligaments, skin, and internal organs. In this condition, the collagen, which strengthens and determines the elasticity of skin, becomes defective, which leads to the loosening of skin and other problems. Despite all that, he still managed to find work. He is a sideshow performer, and his acts include pulling on his tummy skin, pulling his chest skin over his face, and many more feats showing off his elasticity. Number 7. The perfect hourglass figure. Kathy Jung holds the world record for having the smallest waist in the world. At 15 inches in circumference, and mind you, that's no bigger than the lid of a jar of mayo, she achieved these amazing dimensions by wearing corsets 23 hours a day, every day since 1993. Kathy Jung began her waist training journey in 1959, just before she got married to her husband Bob. Back then, the introducing body corsets that were very popular at the time fascinated him, and imagined his wife with a small waist. Many people think that she had some ribs surgically removed to achieve her extreme figure, a rumor that she fervently denies. Number 6. The fattest kid in the world. Back in 2011, Chinese kid Liu Zhihao became an internet sensation and was touted as the fattest kid in the world. At only 4 years of age, he weighed a hefty 132 pounds. To put that into perspective, 132 pounds is the equivalent of 5 average 4-year-olds. Weirdly, his birth weight was skimpy, a mere 5.7 pounds. At around 3 months, he inexplicably began to expand, and nobody knew why. Liu Hao hated walking to school and was often given a ride on his mother's motorbike. He also cried if he was not given all the food that he wanted. His parents did make a heartfelt effort to get him to go swimming, playing basketball, and so on, but the exercise made him hungry and he demanded more food than ever. Of course, being so fat is going to have quite a few negative side effects to it, so his parents tried everything to control his weight. They even took him to 3 different hospitals, trying to find a cause for his obesity. Guangdong Children's Hospital suggested that hormone treatment might be an option. However, there is no mention of anyone thinking bariatric surgery, and for good reason. The risks would be horrific. Since he became world news in 2011, nothing has come up on him since then. Which is sad, really, because I sincerely hope he managed to lose some weight and have a better quality of life. Can't be fun to be hungry all the time. Number 5. Turtle Boy. Didier Montalvo had a mole that grew so big that by the age of 6 it covered his entire back like a turtle shell, earning him the nickname of Turtle Boy. Ew. The rare birthmark, congenital melanoctic nevus, affects around 1 in 20,000 newborn babies, but a top surgeon described Didier Montalvo's condition as the worst he'd ever seen. Didier's life was severely affected by the growth, covering more than half of his body circumference, both in the painful itchiness of his skin and how it also affected his confidence. He and his family were shunned by villagers in his home in rural Colombia in South America, and his mother Luz was even told it was her fault for looking at a solar eclipse while pregnant. The family was too poor to shell out for surgery, but his life changed when his touching story was featured in a local newspaper, and a flood of donations poured in. While they could now afford the operation, the life-changing surgery was still by no means straightforward. In fact, it would be painful, dangerous, and complicated. Fortunately, the surgery was successful, and the former Turtle Boy is now living a normal life. Number 4. Tree Man. Didi Kaswara is just a fisherman from Indonesia, but he is known all over the world. At some point during his youth, he scraped his knee, and so began his lifelong struggles as the world's most famous tree man. After his accident, his body became covered with abnormal growths that were especially prominent on his hands and feet. Because of the root-like growths on his extremities and the bark-like patches on the rest of his skin, his condition caused him to become known as Tree Man. His body is incapable of stopping the development of the growths, so they become larger with time. Didi suffers from a rare disease known as epidermoplasia verruciformis, also known as Lewandowski-Lutz dysplasia. This disease is a hereditary autosomal recessive skin disorder. As a result of the disease, Didi has a heightened susceptibility to human papillomaviruses. Also known as HPV, these conditions are very easy for the common person to contract. It has been said that up to 80% of people may be infected with a virus without showing symptoms. For over 20 years, Didi's case has confused and intrigued doctors and scientists, but no one has been able to completely cure it just yet. Although he did undergo multiple surgeries to remove the warts, they always grew back again. Number 3. Papa Smurf. Paul Karassin is a person that is very easy to pick out in a crowd because of his unique look. His skin is blue. In 2008, Paul Karassin appeared on national television to reveal his unordinary skin to the world. Prior to his TV debut, Paul had been living as a recluse, limiting his time in public as much as possible. Paul grew up with red hair and fair skin. During his middle-aged years, he came down with a serious case of dermatitis and flaky skin on his face. Then one day he saw an ad for an old wives' remedy and decided to give it a try. The ad was for a concoction called Colloidal Silver, a once popular cold and flu remedy used in the early 20th century up until the 1950s. The solution, made up of tiny silver particles, promised to be a cure-all. Paul started drinking 10 ounces of his own home-brewed serum every day, and he did so for over a decade. The good news is his dermatitis cleared up. Thing is, his skin is now permanently blue, and his resemblance to Papa Smurf is now extremely uncanny. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's pick is a photo of a man with an impossibly long neck, which was submitted over by a subscriber. Does such a man even exist? Well, yes and no. The thing is, I can't find anything related to this photo at all, but there are people, women to be more specific, who have extremely long necks. And to them, the longer their neck, the more beautiful they are. Find out who they are next with number 2. The long-necked women of Myanmar. From childhood, women of the Pandog tribe of Myanmar were traditionally fitted with coils of copper to stretch their neck. A symbol of wealth, position, and beauty, the coils can stretch their necks over a foot and weigh over 20 pounds according to the Guinness Book of World Records. The world record for longest neck is 15 3/4 inches, and it belonged to a Padang woman. In fact, a Padang means long neck in the local language. The ironic thing is, these women actually don't have long necks. No amount of stretching would add more vertebrae to your spine. Their long necks are actually an optical illusion. As the copper coil gets longer, it pushes the collarbone and ribs down, creating the appearance of a longer neck. Having rings around your neck all your life does have some drawbacks though. For one, they can't tilt their head back so they drink using straws. And although they can remove the brass coils without their necks collapsing, the neck muscles have to weaken over time. Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1. The Elephant Man. Born in 1862, Joseph Merrick began growing disfiguring tumors before the age of 2, and his condition rapidly worsened, rendering one of his arms completely immobile. Increasing health problems eventually made it impossible for Merrick to continue his working life, and poverty forced him to enter the Leicester Union Workhouse. Desperate to find a way out of such grim conditions, Merrick contacted the owner of the Leicester Music Hall in 1884. Together they established a successful act called The Elephant Man, half a man and half an elephant, in which Merrick displayed his increasingly misshapen body. Merrick is thought to have suffered from a rare genetic disease called Proteus syndrome, wherein the sufferer's bones continue to grow and misshapen without control. Merrick himself followed an old folk belief, saying that his appearance was due to his mother being frightened by an elephant during pregnancy. Know of any more amazing human beings? Let us know in the comment section down below. Want to watch more videos about amazing people? Check out any of these videos on your screen. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody.